few times today and yesterday. But as a quick recap, we have now a larger ecosystem of Gemini models and its relatives. We announced it and we are making available for you the 2.5 models, the Pro one, the largest and more advanced one, the Flash, which is faster, but is still a thinking capable model, just like the Gemini 2.5 Pro. We still have the 2.0 Flash Lite, which is a smaller, more with better pricing for faster interactions. You have the Nano models for on-device experiences if you are developing like mobile applications using Android Studio, AI Core. It's pretty neat, pretty easy to bring the model straight to the device, have local experiences without needing internet connections or anything like that. And finally, the embedding model, which is a very specific kind of use case where you are using LLMs not to generate contents, not to generate images or video, but you want them to help you generate information, generating information representation in vector formats. That's what we call embeddings, allowing you to create experiences like semantic search or ranking information when you have a search system or something like that. Together with all of that, we also have what we call the Gemini API ecosystem of models. So together with the Gemini models, you have the Gen Media models, the models able to generate multimedia information like Imagen 3 to generate high quality images, VO2 to generate high quality videos, Gemini Robotics that programmatic, or is the way for developers to start interacting with the Google DeepMind models we release. It has a very easy and very experience using the AI Studio. How many of you have heard about AI Studio or have experimented with AI Studio? Nice, that's amazing. So the idea of the AI Studio, for those who never heard or never experimented with that, is it is one interface where you have the ability to use the different models available, like for the Gemini family, you have the 2.5s, the 2.0, the 1.5, the Gemma models available here as well. You can generate media, like using Imagen, using speech generation, using Lyria for music, using VO, and all that experience is pure no code. So it's fast, you can send your prompts, you can see the results, but you don't necessarily need to be a developer to start seeing those results, right? So for example, as a first question we can do, it's a very common chat experience with the model. So for example, we can start asking the model, what are the key launches from Google I/O 2025. What's going to happen here? We're going to start with a prompt that's going to fail. Why we are doing that? When we are talking about LLM models, we have something that we call the knowledge cutoff, or basically what's the date or the period that the model has information about. So as you are talking about Gemini 2.5 Pro, basically, the knowledge cutoff is up to January 2025. It means that anything that happened after this month, the model was not exposed during the training. Then, if you want the model to use this information, you need to create some mechanism to give extra context to the model. Why we started with that? Because with that, you can see like a very cool tool available both on the AI Studio and the APIs that we call grounding with Google Search. What happens here? How many of you have heard about RAG or any mechanism to ingest real-time data to the models? And how many of you have seen or have built one RAG system? Is it easy to be built? No, because you need to take care of the data ingestion, the data processing, all the integrations, create the APIs, making sure that the data is validated on the proper format, etc., etc. So what we do with the grounding with Google Search is creating a RAG-like experience where instead of having you doing the effort of creating all the mechanisms and all the integrations to get fresher information, you use the Gemini API backend. We do the integration with the Google Search. And what happens when you send the question is, in the backend, a Google Search will be performed, some results will come, the API will analyze the results, the model will get the fresher information, and the model answer will get this embedding. So you don't need to do that by yourself, by hand. So for example, if I ask the same question again with the tool enabled, what I may have is a more detailed information about the newest things on the Google I/O 2025, because the model will get that directly from the Google Search. So now we have the Gemini 2.5 models, we have the Gemini Live, the Gemini apps, the AI Ultra subscription, everything that's happening here since yesterday, right? The cool thing about this grounding mechanism is you can have all the sources that the model uses to get the information. So it increases your ability to validate information and to avoid misinformation or wrong information to the question that your user asked. And also, which is pretty cool for developers as well, the API kind of gives you one HTML that you can render and create exactly the same Google search that could give those results. So basically you have two alternatives to give users some proof or some explanation from where the information came from. You have all the sources list, all the links, check it, and also you can give this rendered HTML where when you click here, basically you have the search that does exactly the same as the API did, right? Okay, what else is nice to be checked here? We are using a model which is thinking capable. It means that before it generates a final answer, it does some reasoning steps to make sure it has the better and the most accurate information to your answer. When you are using thinking models like that, like Gemini 2.5 Pro and 2.5 Flash, you have access to what we call thinking summaries. So together with the final model answer, you can also see a summary of all the reasonable steps and all the decisions that the model made to get to the final answer. So for example, if I ask the model, explain to me the Okan, let me see another. Tell me what is reasoning for LLMs and give me some practical examples of why it is cool. What happens here? When I send this prompt, I can see this small window here, and you can see live all the steps that the model is taking to get to this answer. So basically, you can see that the model is trying to forge the concept and then clarifying the core concept, outlining cool examples that develop the explanation, etc., etc. When it all finishes, you have your final answer. And then you have a more robust, a more comprehensive answer, including everything you asked. And it gives you, as a developer, the ability to have this understanding on the both sides. So if you are like giving this answer to your application and giving to your users, you can simply send the final answer to the users, but also you have access to the reasoning steps as well. And it's a very useful troubleshooting tool, because even using grounding, sometimes the answers are not as accurate as you want. So you can see how the prompts are being sent, how the model is dealing with the reasoning steps. You can record that and keep optimizing your application with better prompts, with better maybe further reasoning steps, or another models to be used, things like that. Okay? Cool. So what else you can do here? On the left menu, you have something that we call Generate Media. And basically with Generate Media is the way where you can start experimenting with the Media model. So like the first one, the Imagen 3, you define the aspect ratio of the image you want. You can pick by default here on the UI up to 4 images to be created. And you can simply say something that you want to see. So I want sunset on a view with some clouds and birds in the sky. It is not a very strong prompt. It is more generic. But the idea is you can start experimenting right away out of this little prompt box with the model and see how that works. Another thing that the model is able to give you, the AI Studio is able to give you, you have this small icon up here that we call Get Code. So basically, you like the interaction, you want to move forward to your development team, or yourself wants to start testing via code. If you click on the Get Code icon, you have the ability to see in different SDKs, like for example in Python, how I can replicate the same interaction I just had using the Imagen 3 Generate 002 model, sending this prompt, how I can, on my code, on my application, generate an image similar to that, right? The same you can do using like the VO model for videos. So for VO, you have two choices. You have the ability to send a single image, and the model will try to understand what's going on in that image and try to create some animation of that. And the second choice is you can send a text and explain what's the kind of scene you want. The model will understand the semantics around the scene and create the scene for you. So for example, if I use one of the samples here, this sample is like one perfume vase on a bathroom. The model tries to understand what would be like some scene out of this image, and in around 40 to 50 seconds, it will get me a high quality 8-second video clip with this image animated. So that's kind of cool, because if you are using images as reference, it allows you to create larger clips by putting 8-second ones in sequence, if you keep using frames as reference to the next steps. So basically, this initial frame is the image I sent, and if I hit play here, I can see like what the model chose as a good animation for this and generated for me, right? And the same, you can hit the Get Code, and with the Get Code, you can see how you define which model we're going to use, and how you define the video generation configuration, and how you do the image generation itself using the SDK. Nice. So basically here, you have the ability to poke around, to experiment with all the available models. What would be the next step for that? The next step for that is start doing like real coding using it. So if you go to Colab now, I created like this sandbox Colab. I will share on GitHub later if you want to follow that later. And the idea I got here is I will go through many of those features, like creating images, creating videos, working with thinking models, and so on, to give you, doesn't matter which kind of experience you are looking for, like for chain media, or for agents, or for reasoning, you have like a small view of how that works. Perfect. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is, Google Colab is all about Python, so we are going to use the Python SDK here. So the first thing I need to do is like install the latest version of the SDK. Done. Then I need to have one Gemini API key to start interacting with the API. You can do that, but you can create that directly on AI Studio. If you go on AI Studio, there is this menu called Dashboard. and on dashboard you have the API keys page. And here you simply need to click create API key, and you're gonna have your first new API to start using. Then I'm going to use my previously created API key. Nice. Then I will import some models I want to use, like to beautify the experience. I'm using some display methods from Jupyter Notebooks. I'm importing my model for the SDK, and I'm importing the types library for the SDK. And then the first thing I'm going to do is generate an image using Imagen 3. So I will define which model I want to use. And the example I'm going to do here is I want one anime-like image of a Brazilian guy using a blue shirt with avocados delivering one tech talk. Okay? So as you can see here, I don't have any specific image editing or some hints related to image creation to the model. I'm simply saying in plain English the information about the image I want to be created. I inform the amount of images I want, the aspect ratio, and I send the API request. Once I have the API request, it took me like almost 6 seconds to run. I have on the result structure the bytecode for the image I created. So the model created for me like this image. Nice. Okay, what else I can do? If you have followed some of the sessions from yesterday or some sessions for today, basically you have two possibilities of creating images. You have the Imagen 3 that gives more better quality, higher quality images. But you only have unary interactions, so you send a prompt, you get an image as the result, and that's it. That's the interaction with the model. But also, you have one Gemini variant that we call 2.5 flash image out model that allows you to create images as well. Why we did that? Because we got some feedbacks that some people want to, for example, interleave images on a text answer, like for example to create a guide for something, or also some people want to keep chatting with the model and edit the image. So what we can do with the image out? So now I'm going to use this model, and the first interaction I will do is there is a famous dish in Brazil called couscous. That's the same name as the Moroccan and Turkish kind of dish. And I'm asking the model to create for me a guide of how I can cook a couscous, including the directions and some images of the steps. So what's going to happen is, just like going a little bit back here, when I interacted with Imagen, it just gave me the image, and that's it. My interaction was over. Now I can wait for the oops. I got an internal error. Let's try again. Let me confirm I have the right model. Okay, that's it. Whew. And it will take some seconds again. And basically, when the generation is over, my response structure now will be more rich. It will have one part that is in text, and another part has the bytecode. So let me check if it finished. It finished 25 seconds. And if I check the result, basically it gave me what I asked, like a guidance of how I can start preparing my couscous with both text directions and also images created in runtime. So at the end, I have my beautiful couscous down here, and that's it. Nice. But what happens if I send again the same previous prompt I sent, asking to create an image of a Brazilian guy with a blue shirt, with avocados, presenting a talk? What I can have now is, it will generate this image for me. I got something like this. And every time I rerun the interaction, I will have a new image generated in case I don't like something. Before I save, I will keep generating new ones. So that's better. Now I have eyes. And what's the difference here? The first thing I'm going to do is save this image locally as a PNG file. And the difference from the Imagine is that I can now use this saved image as reference for a new prompt. And say, for example, that I want this background to be white, and I want to put a presentation Wi-Fi clicker in the end of the character. So that's exactly what I'm asking here. So let's see what the model does. It's done. Let's see the result. Okay, now I have the same character. It didn't change like the person in the image, but then now it cleaned the background for me, and that this huge clicker in the head. Nice. And then I can save that again. What kind of experience I can keep going with that? Now that I saved the image, I can now try to use Veo and ask Veo to animate this image. So I did a quick comparison here. So first, I'm asking Veo to create a scene using the exactly same prompt I sent to the image models. What's probably going to happen here? The video I'm going to have will be totally different from the images I created before, because I don't have any connection between those experiences. I asked one thing for one model, I asked another thing to another model, and the video may be something else. Let me see, it takes like 40 to 50 seconds to finish running, and once it finishes, it will tell me that it finished, and once it is finished, I can keep this cell already run. Okay, it took like 41 seconds, and it created me like a generic video with the instructions I gave. So I can see like the person happy talking about things here. What I can do to connect both experiences? To connect both experiences, I can send the image as reference, send my prompt, and then Veo will use as reference the image I previously created anywhere. It may be created by Gemini, by Imagine, by myself, like hand drawing. It will use that as reference and will create a new video for me. So let's see how it does. So basically what I'm going to do is using this image, the second one I created with the Gemini image out, to create the new video here. So let's see how it goes. And again, the cool thing here is it is like one kind of prototyping, one kind of like experiment experience. And if I don't like the results, I can try enhancing my prompts, I can give more information, I can generate different images. But the result was really cool. Like I got the image I previously created with Gemini and then I animated that. Basically, a lot of companies from media tech are starting to use that combination to create, for example, assets for ad campaigns. You can work with Imagine or Gemini Image Out to use your products as reference or to create some scenario for the products you are advertising for. Then you start animating the pieces with Veo. So you can create this flow where you connect the two experiences and do your work like step by step. Nice. And the last one I brought here from the Gen Media perspective is the TTS. Now we have the TTS model, and with the TTS, what we can do is basically on a single prompt, you don't need to use anything more advanced like using SSML or any specific text-to-speech kind of mechanism. You simply explain on your prompt how you want the text to be spoken, and you send to the model. So after it is synthesized,
hello there. My name is Gemini, and I'm really glad to be here at the Google I/O 2025.
that's it. There's a pretty cool voice. And what we can do is we can play how the model speaks. So for example, the next prompt I'm going to say is trying to work with timing in the audio. So I'm asking the model to say that it is a very knowledgeable model, especially when using rounding, wait for 3 seconds while counting from 1 to 3, and then say something else. So basically the model understands the meaning of the context I'm passing to it, and it will generate a voice clip for me following that direction.
I am a very knowledgeable model, especially when using grounding. Don't you think? 1, 2, 3. Don't you think?
That's it. Cool. So what else I can do? The TTS API is also multilingual. So you can work with different languages, like for example, I wrote here in Brazilian Portuguese, totally unbiased, that the Brazilian cuisine is the best in the world. So what I can have is the model will be able to generate that for me.
A comida brasileira é a melhor do mundo.
And basically, you may have multilingual interactions with your customers, with your users, generating like voice answers in runtime in any language you want, like calibrating or customizing how the model is going to deliver this outbound. So let me see what else I have here. Something else that is pretty cool with the TTS is what we call mood speakers. So you can also create one audio clip which has 2 speakers talking to each other. How many of you know the Notebook LM? Nice. So on the Notebook LM you have what people call the podcast that we tried calling before as AI overviews, but everybody calls it as a podcast. That's fine. And basically you have two synthetic voices talking to each other about the topic in the PDFs, in the context you have. What you can do is, first I'm creating one fictional transcript here about 2 people talking about something about Gemini 2.5 models. And here I have like 2 speakers talking. I can get this transcript, I can pick different voices or different languages for each of the speakers, and I am asking the model to create a very exciting podcast conversation between one podcast host and one podcast guest about this transcript. It will take a little bit longer because it is a longer transcript to be generated. Then I will keep here the transcript just to have us following by the model.
Okay, we have to talk about I/O 2025. My brain is still buzzing. Buzzing? I think mine just melted, especially with all the AI announcements. Gemini 2.5? Seriously? The multimodal advancements are just next level, right? The way they showcase the new agentic capabilities.
Okay, so you got the point. So basically, you can create the kind of conversation you want. You can define how many speakers are going to be present in the audio, and also you can customize like emotions, pronunciations, and everything. That's kind of cool. Okay, so moving forward to the Gemini 2.5 models. The first thing we are going to do is, let's move this from here, is selecting the model we want to use. And something very useful to developers is what we call tokens counting. So So when you are using LLMs, like in general, not the Google ones only, you have some specific billing methods. Like you can count words, you can count tokens, and basically the amount of words or tokens you are using is how many dollars you are going to pay for. But the key question a lot of developers keep asking us is, how may I know how it's going to cost if I don't know exactly how the model is converting my data, my image, my text to this token format? So basically on the API, we created this method that we call count tokens. That's not that creative, just count tokens. It's free of charge because it doesn't make sense to pay for tokens you are just counting, right? So the response is pretty much that your input goes through the model tokenizer and gives you how many tokens this input represents. It's useful because you can start thinking about creating a specific billing or specific costs for different users or for different customers, because you can keep tracking all the interactions one by one, the requests, the answers, and I mean the answers because when we send a prompt, like I ask it to the model where's the venue where Google I/O normally happens, and it's in Shoreline Theater. But together with the answer, it also gives me this structure that we call usage metadata. So here I have all the tokens related information. I can see the size of the answer in tokens. I can see the size of the prompt, like the inputs in tokens. I can see if the model did some thoughts, how many tokens were spent in thinking. So I can aggregate this together and I can really clearly see how much this interaction cost. So that's pretty useful. I will skip something here just for the matter of time, but I will share with you later this notebook. Just show that you can do like in a pretty simple way multimodal interactions. So here I got this image from one Google I/O website. I used some Python to convert the image to byte 64 format, and then I just need to send to the model in a single request the bytecode information, the prompt I want, and then it gives me like it analyzes the image and gives me what, in this case, what's the description of this image. So what you're gonna have here is the top center, there is the Google I/O, there is the background that is all black, etc., etc. So basically it did a good description of the image. Another thing we can do is still talking about multimodality. You can work with video clips, like here, for example, I have this, I think it is a night view camera in the woods. I have, it has like 5 minutes. There are some animals passing by during the day, during the evening, and all that stuff. So I'm sending this video, and I'm asking the model to organize the scenes, detect the animals passing through, and all that stuff. So what the model will do without any extra effort from your side is get this video, extract the information. You don't need to parse anything. You don't need to extract frames, extract audio, anything like that. You just need to send the raw video file, and the model will get me like any semantic information I ask for. So on this case, I asked some specific information. So here I have all the timestamps for what is happening on each of those timestamps, the objects visible when it sees like fox, a bear, other animals, and what's the excitement level of this part. Like I asked the model to create this score from 1 to 10, just to have an idea what are the hot areas of my video instead of looking to everything. I can do that as well using YouTube links. So basically I got one of the Sundar's keynotes here in Google I/O. We got this meme around how many times he talked about the word AI during this keynote 2 years ago. And basically, I'm sending the link, just the link. I don't need to like do any kind of video copying, downloading, anything like that. Just the YouTube link. And I ask to have mentions of, with timestamps of every time Sundar said AI. And the answer I will get is pretty much timestamps list with which moments Sundar said AI. So basically it understands what's being shown and what's being spoken in the video, and give me some reference about what was going on in the video at that point. So while it is like processing, another thing I wanted to show you is sometimes we have a very large video, but we just want to see to analyze a part of it. That's why we launched now during the I.O. what we call video clipping. With video clipping, you can send your YouTube video, but also you can send time offsets. I don't want the whole video to be analyzed if I just want one piece of that. So let me see the answer for the Sundar one. Okay, so here I have all the points, the AI word was said, and some context, what was going on, what was the phrase that was said. The next one is the keynote from last year, and close to, I guess, let me see. I guess it is 12 minutes, something like that. Well, we have Demis Hassabis being invited to stage. So I got the minutes interval here, and I asked the model, the whole video has almost 2 hours. But I'm asking the model to summarize just this interval in few sentences. So the model, instead of analyzing everything, is going to use just this interval and generate for me the results. While it is processing, maybe one last thing I want to show you with the final minutes we have remaining is how many of you is learning or experimenting or developing with agents? Okay, cool, a lot of you. So what we can do is, have you heard about the ADK, the Google Agents Development Kit? ADK is fully integrated with the Gemini API. So what we can do here, is, by the end of this experience, I'm creating one here. I'm going to create one agent using ADK and the Gemini API. Let me just check if the response from the video analysis came out. And there you go. So basically, on this specific interval, out of those 2 hours long video, we have the Demis Hassabis, co-founder of DeepMind, sharing his lifelong fascination about this, about that, everything he done. He's nice, he got a Nobel, etc., etc., etc. Okay. So now going to the last part on the agentic bit. So I need to install one extra SDK, that is the ADK. Cool. I have it done. Then I need to import some models out of the SDK. And the agent I'm going to create is one agent that I'm calling one academic research agent. I'm creating some specific prompts for 3 agents. One that is the orchestrator, that is going to control everything that's happening on the agent, or the coordinator, the way I've written here. The second one is a model that's going to do web search. It's going to use the Google search grounding to check on Google any topic I want to know about. And also another one that I'm calling the new search, that is trying to get information about the papers or the topics I'm asking for. Cool. So I created this structure with the prompts. And then I just need to define my agents. So I have here my web search agent, my new research agent, using the prompts I previously defined, and my coordinator. And then I created this way using a runner just because I want to run in Colab, but you can deploy this agent on the way you want, like as a Kubernetes service, on Cloud Run, on your own APIs, anything like that. So a very naive way of interacting with this model, which is like a while loop. So I will interact with the agent, and I want to know the latest news about quantum machine learning. What's going to happen is, in the backend of this agent, it is using the multi-agents I have in the backend, one for checking for Google search information, one for checking more details about the specific things it found, and the answer will be pretty much related to the topic I want, but calibrated to the experience I got. So let me see what we got. Could you please provide the seminal paper in quantum machine learning you want to focus on? I want to see something around classification networks in quantum computers. So I can keep interacting here. So for my user, it is just like a regular chatbot. But in the back end, I have a more robust experience where I can control what the agents using the Gemini models are going to do, how the answers will be delivered, and how will be the experience for my end users. Could you please go back to the slides? That's it. That's what I had to show you. I hope you enjoyed that. I want to share some links here. So you can have like the API information, the AI Studio link, the Google. Thanks a lot.